So then you would take over the obligation to maintain it. You need to pay the dues to maintain it. If it moves to the back, and don't hold me to every detail, I don't have all the details. If it moves to the back, then Horton would be responsible for the maintenance of running it until it's turned over. And it wouldn't be turned over till 75% of the homes are, yeah, forget that for a minute. 75% of the homes in the entire community, the 409. So Horton may be responsible to pay the maintenance fee for it in the rear of the community for a few years. That's just another factor. I'm not suggesting that's an important factor, but it's just a factor of who's going to have responsibility to actually pay for the maintenance up front. In either event, there'll be a management company who will be managing it. It's not going to be Horton actually cleaning the pool or doing any of that work. We'll have a professionally managed and professional pool maintenance company out there. Last, and I don't think this is much of a consideration, but in the interest of putting everything on the table that you've heard about or talked about or might want to consider, there's a phase line involved here that will have to move. So your community is 409 lots. The first phase is 199, and you're obviously in the first phase. The second phase is the balance, 210. So 199 and 210 equals 409. Right now, Horton is hitting a permit wall. So when we complete the rec facilities up front, the permit wall more or less goes away, and we can continue with our building permits for the community. If we move the rec facilities to the back and take that, whatever I just said, year and a half or so to get it engineered, approved, and built, I can't, Horton, and nor should you want your community to sit quiet for that long while we wait for the pool to be complete. So there's a legal detail that says we need to move the phase line, actually remove that phase line, so that there's no permit holdup, and we can continue to sell and build homes while we finish the pool. So I don't know if that's an important consideration for anybody, but that's part of it. And when you look at your ballot, you're going to see choice A, move the rec facilities to the back and waive the phase line. Choice B, leave the pool where it is, leave the phase line where it is. So that the phase line is an important element, because it doesn't make any sense for us to move everything to the back and take 18 months if we're not going to be able to proceed with the development and build and sell homes. So that is how I perceive the four factors to weigh. I want to talk, and we're going to open it up to questions, of course, in just a minute. We're almost at the thank you slide again. By the math. So the next question I would ask if I was you is, okay, how many votes does it take to get this thing moved? Because there was already some kind of petition that went around, and didn't that get like 90 votes or so? So by the math, by the law, you need 2/3 of the homes or of the lots in phase one to vote yes. So 2/3 of 199 is 132. Currently, approximately 154 homes are closed. So there's 154 of you, and Horton owns the other 45 lots. I promise you, we're trying to sell them as fast as we can. So if all 154 of you voted one way or another, it's 100% in your control. But you need 2/3 of 199, so you need 132 homes to vote yes. Now you might say, what happens to the Horton 45 lots? Where do those votes go? Because Horton's entitled to vote its lots also. We've actually wrestled with what's the right and appropriate way to answer this question. And what we came up with is the Horton 45 lots will be voted whichever way the majority votes. So if there's 154 of you, and let's say half of that is 77, so if 78 of the homes vote one way or another, we're just going to throw our votes with the majority, the 78. We just figured that was the absolute fairest way to do it. So again, just keeping the math simple, and I'm sorry if I'm going a little crazy with math, but there's 199, you need 132, you are 154. So either way, you certainly, as Councilman Bell suggested, You control your entire destiny on this, and I think that's something that we don't usually find in these kind of situations. So we appreciate the county and the councilman working with us to get to a point where we can pass this decision along to you. I don't have any further on my end. If there's anyone from our guys that want to say anything, otherwise we're welcome to open up to questions. I'm not suggesting this needs to be a long meeting, but feel free.
In practical terms, what does removal of the phase line mean to us as Shannon? What will Horton do later because of that?
In my personal opinion, I don't think it means anything, but from a legal perspective, yeah, is there something I'm not getting?
Right now, under the county's process, when you're building a residential community, there's a permit threshold that you hit that requires you to complete and turn over all of the open space to the residents, and the residents would then be able to assess for maintenance, and they would take control of the maintenance. Because this community is phased, at the moment, we have to do this at 75% or 90% based on an agreement with the county of building permits in phase 1. And we would have to complete everything and turn everything over for the community's control. If the phase line gets moved, that pushes that number back to 75% of the total of the community, 75% of 409 houses. The turnover to the community and the responsibility to the community to actually start assessing for and performing that maintenance would be pushed off to a date in the future. That's really the biggest change. Right now, as you all know, Horton cannot assess for the maintenance. There was a fee collected. It's being held in escrow until the community takes control of the open space and the maintenance corp. It'll be turned over to you at that point, either at phase 1 or for the entire community. The other issue that's kind of happening is because it was a phased community, there would be some administrative issues that everybody would have to deal with at some point in the future. That is, what do you do for the homeowners in phase 2 who aren't part of the phase 1 open space and the turnover and things like that? That's an issue for the future if it continues to be. But going back to your point, the main question is it would delay the turnover and thus the residents' responsibilities to perform maintenance for the open space.
Thanks, Sean. Yeah.
Has anybody kind of calculated what is the estimated maintenance cost of maintaining a pool like this?
When the community was started in '06, you should have received, hopefully people are receiving this today, this declaration statement, and in there it says that the initial maintenance fee that's being collected is $1,055 for a 2-year assessment. So obviously that equals $520-something was an estimate in 2006. Now, anything that anyone estimated in 2006, you know it's not the same. So when the rec facilities are completed and ready to be turned over, what we would do is we'd hire a management company to come up with a current and accurate budget.
How many homes was that based on? Was that based on the initial 199?
I'm sure they're based on the whole thing.
So the whole community?
Yeah, and that'll help drive the number down, obviously.
Right. So initially, if it was built in the front, and the phase 1 was responsible for the homeowner's cost, that cost could be higher because there would be a lesser number of homes.
Yes, very perceptive, because that's kind of where John was leading the conversation. You're right. Someone right there had a question? Oh, yeah, sorry.
If it gets moved to the back middle section, what is D.R. Horton's vested interest in getting the process along quickly, considering they're going to be paying the maintenance fees on that for a good number of time? They're just going to hold out until 75% of the total community is complete.
Excellent question, because you're mixing an important business issue, because money is always important to us, to you and to us, with a practical question and a marketing question. We want to move ahead with the rec facilities as soon as possible for these selfish reasons of marketing. We believe that the community will have a leg up on some of our competition, some of your competition, if we can say we have the rec facility open and running. I'm not able to give you an absolute answer, except we're standing here allowing you to vote. So I have every intention. I mean, I'm the division president. Colin's the guy that's going to build it. So he's got the green light, and he's had the green light pending the this vote. So we were just talking on the way down, okay, when can I really start, front or back? And I said, well, we gotta wait for this vote, so figure early May, we'll know which way, and if it's up front, he's gonna get started the day after we get the vote. If it's in the back, Charlie's gonna get started from our engineer's office drawing it. So I can only tell you our promise is that we'll move at a rational and fair pace to try to get it up and running so that we can show prospective home buyers that here it is, and look how beautiful it is.
I have one additional question.
Sure.
Because we all know that there's a large number of homes that have not paid the HOA fee at settlement and have not signed off on the document. How does that affect the voting and the number of homes that need to vote?
I'm not sure I know what you mean by large. I don't think I agree
There
with that.
are homes that did not sign an HOA document at settlement.
20 maybe?
It's 20 of 199 then.
I think there's a mixing of apples and oranges with that. There was the deed restrictions, which there are some level of folks, I think it's less than 20, that bought lots before deed restrictions were imposed on the property. The responsibility for maintaining the pool and maintaining the open space is actually part of the county's required maintenance declaration. That was recorded prior to the original plan getting recorded on this subdivision. That actually binds everybody. So for open space maintenance purposes, which would include the pool, everybody is obligated under the maintenance declaration unless there's somebody I'm unaware of that's not covered by the maintenance declaration. The declaration of restrictions, which I think is what you're talking about, actually doesn't govern who has to pay for what, at least as far as the county's required open space is concerned.
What about the fact that they haven't paid the $1,500 and it's not in escrow?
I'm not aware of
Why
that.
do they still have a vote?
Any lot that's on the approved plan by the county's requirements has a vote in this process. To move the open space, every owner of a lot in the community subject to the maintenance declaration has to have the opportunity to vote. I'm not aware of people who didn't pay at settlement. I do know that the number was changed at the time that the pool was added, but as far as I know, everybody paid. If somebody didn't, that's before all of our time.
I think maybe
But-
D.R. Horton needs to go back in its records. then.
I'm sure they will. But that doesn't change whether they have a right to vote or not. Any owner of a lot in phase one has a right
Oh,
to
it
vote.
should. It should if they didn't sign a declaration or pay homeowners association dues, but
Okay, thank you, sir.
Well, I'm more than 20, I did pay my $1,500.
Okay.
But my question is about transparency of the voting itself. Being in the community, I've heard that some people said that they didn't get the letter for the meeting. How will we assure that everyone gets the letter? And then what is the timing and all of that? How does that all work?
I was given a list of approximately 145 homes, plus or minus. I sent notices out to 145 homes. I only received 2 back, both listed as houses that were vacant. I took the liberty of adding more current owner to the address in hopes of avoiding things coming back. I found out later that there may have been about 15 people missing from that list. I think the number was around 160. I have an updated list, so that larger list is going to be getting the following items. They're going to be getting a 2-page cover letter from me that explains what Mitch talked about tonight, and the process that has to go through with each of the 2 choices. And there's going to be a ballot and a self-addressed return envelope stamped to me that gives you the 2 choices, choice A and B. Basically, we want to move it or we want to keep it where it is. My intention, unless Mitch throws something at me or tells me no, is that I would be sending a letter out, or D.R. Horton would be sending a letter out to the same 160 people, letting them know what the result of the vote is and how we're proceeding.
So how soon will that?
The dates are already in the letter, whether to go out. I think the deadline to get them back to me is going to be April 23rd. My intention is to put them in the mail tomorrow, Friday at the latest.
So I have the same address name of your company?
It's going to have it's an already pre-printed envelope, and it'll already be stamped, so you guys just have to put it in the mail and send it back to me. And I think we will be making the final determination internally on the 28th of April.
Yeah, correct. And then there'll be a letter back to you all with what the final vote was, probably from John's office. Sir?
I just moved in July, and I know I've talked to a number of my neighbors. How is it that we're just at this place now, but in July, Charlie showed us these plans and said we were waiting for Newcastle County to release 7 permits for the houses back on Kingswood so that they could proceed with the pool at the corner of Kingswood and Ashington?
True.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll go for that one too. Yep.
That they would break ground in August. of
We
this-
met here a year and a
of
half.
13.
We met here a year and a half ago. Talked about the exact same thing a year and a half ago. There was a gentleman who was the district president then. I'm sorry. Okay. And we talked about front and back.
It
Matter of
goes
fact,
back
what was in the back?
further than that.
What was
When
in
the
back?
community was started, this document said it was going to be up front, and that's what everybody got. But my goal wasn't to debate what you've heard or didn't hear or any of that stuff. The goal was to tell you, as you know, that the pool's always, the rec center's always been approved up front. I do understand that in the summer of 2012, there was a conversation started about, wouldn't it be better if it was towards the center of the site? Unfortunately, those engineering plans weren't completed and were not approved by the county. So that plan didn't come to fruition. So here we are facing a situation where the permits are coming to an end. So we need to get this started up front as soon as possible. And obviously, you know the rest of the story. You have your input into the conversation of, could we relocate it to the back? Sorry.
That proposal that you just mentioned from back in October of 2012, you said that the county did not approve. I was told by Steve Fox on the phone, the reason why it was not approved is because D.R. Horton didn't go get the signatures that they needed because they didn't feel as though that they could. So,
Okay,
which
I'm not
one was
intending on addressing that. I did intend on bringing to you the choice of having it up front or in the back. There's nothing I can say that's going to be motivational or helpful to you on what did or didn't happen.
But
What was it?
if you presented it to us in 2012 as an idea,
Correct.
then that's what we all assumed was going to happen. And what you have up there is even what you presented in 2012.
I would share with you that we probably shouldn't have presented an idea. We should have presented a fact, and we should have presented something that had an absolute path to approval. Because obviously telling somebody that they're going to get a diamond ring and then giving them a piece of paper ring doesn't sit well with our spouses or any of us. So I do think that we failed by showing you something that we didn't have the ability to move forward with. So I do apologize for that. All the way in the back, please.
One way, if you want to avoid that, is there are some of the ballots that are going to be mailed out up here. If you want to take one to be on the safe side, you certainly may do that. I am mailing the notices out to a group that has about 15 or 18 additional addresses that I was not given previously. I couldn't tell you whether your address was on the list or not. All I can tell you is I sent out 145 or 148 notices. They're going to be mailed out tomorrow or Friday at the latest to all the addresses that I have. And the deadline to get them back to my office is going to be April 23rd, so about 10 days from now. I don't have self-addressed stamped envelopes with me, but as I said, you can certainly take a ballot if you're concerned, and I can give you my address to mail it back to if you want to do that. Or if you feel so inclined, you can leave it with me tonight.
Thank you. Yeah, in the back. Sir, in the blue shirt. You both have blue, of course. My fault, sorry. That's an incredible question. Gentlemen, is there a scenario? It's not my question, it's his. I trust it.
I'm Steve Fox, I'm the planner. They did submit this plan, a similar plan. The original concept had a clubhouse. It's a bigger building, about 3,000 some square feet. First of all, one thing to keep in mind is none of this is required by the county code. There's no parking required if they provide this, although it makes a great deal of sense. So the recreation facility itself is not required. It's being voluntarily proposed. So when they submitted the plan, somewhat of a concept plan, we call it an exploratory sketch plan. We reviewed it and we found it to be, quote, acceptable with various comments to fine tune it. But the biggest comment was you need 2/3 of the 199 lots to consent to it. And since that was missing, that kind of stopped the presses. So it kind of just couldn't move forward. Basically, the developer was taking a position that they believed that all they needed was 2/3 of the 409 lots. So we had months of debate about that. So they thought they had the votes just among the lots that they own. So they thought that they were able to move forward without the community even having to vote. But since it was decided that 2/3 of the 199 are required, that stopped them dead in their tracks. And then, many months went by, years at this point.
The question was, is it reasonable to believe that could be approved?
Oh, yes. Within that long answer was we did find the plan acceptable from a design standpoint. So perhaps a little fine tuning, some engineering, stormwater management, miscellaneous kind of standard things, but I see no reason this wouldn't be able to move forward.
Perfect, thanks. And we didn't plant that question, by the way. Go ahead, please.
I have a couple, and the first one relates to this. So if I understand correctly, the submitted plan originally, the parking situation, that's not that important to the finalization of the process as far as the county goes. So there won't be any further assessment as far as traffic flow or overflow parking, because if you do the math, 409 houses, if you say an average of 3 people per house, that's over 1,200 people who potentially may be coming to the back of the community. And we bought our house under the agreement, and I believe it's on the contract that it would be out front, because we did not want traffic in the back of the neighborhood. So that's another thing. Did everyone sign a contract when they moved in stating, except for the few in the beginning that didn't get the HOA thing? Is everyone's contract stating that it would be in the front?
I don't know if it says it in the contract, but like I said, it says it in the disclosure statement. That's what so that was supposed to be signed by everyone. There's actually a sheet in there that you're supposed to sign.
But as far as parking goes, that will be, as far as the traffic flow and all that, that's not really relevant to whether or not the county approves it, am I correct?
They're saying correct.
Okay.
And the amount of parking spaces, like I said, we're going to try to figure out how to make sure it's the right number. It's never going to be 409, for better or worse. That I hope.
Next question?
So just a quick question, just a comment. You're talking about the pros and cons of voting, right? So one of the things you didn't mention, and we know this because we've seen other pools in other developments in our area that have started out within their association and they've gone public, right? So if the association were to decide 2 years from now, 3 years from now, that we wanted to open this up to the public, one thing to consider is that would be all that traffic coming in from outside our development, or people that don't even live in our development, that would be going all the way through our development to the middle of the development for a pool.
I'm not going to say that's not a valid point. We have, D.R. Horton has no, I'm sorry, the mic kicked down.
That's all right. Again, it's not right or wrong, it's just a comment that people need to consider. We've seen them turn over. It's happened in the last.
Yeah, not our intention at all, but certainly an interesting point.
While it is in D.R. Horton's control, that could not occur. After it got turned over to the community, Mr. Haggerty was pointing out that legally that can't occur without 2/3 of the community voting to do that, because it's private open space that's for the community's use in and of itself. I can't tell you what might occur, but what I can tell you is legally that could not occur without 2/3. Let's move it forward to the end of the community, because the pool serves everybody. 2/3 of 409 units would have to vote to allow it to the public.
Okay.
Thanks. Sir?
As far as this rendering goes, with the basketball court, I'm asking because that corner house is mine. There's a point to that. As far as the basketball courts are concerned, is this something that would be within a fence, kind of building off of that? Is all of Middletown going to be having Sunday morning 7 o'clock basketball games basically in my backyard?
And that's exactly my issue. That's why when I saw this, the first thing I said is, wait a minute, I think I want it on the other side because we all know how loud a basketball can sound Sunday at 7 a.m. So two things. One, I want to move it to the other side for just exactly what you said, but I got to consult with the engineer to make sure that's the right decision. There will be a fence. It will not be open to the public, and you all will set the rules for the pool and the sports court and the tot lot, and I'm guessing the rules won't be dawn to dusk. It'll be whatever, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. I'm making stuff up, and no earlier than 12 on Sunday. You'll do whatever you want to do.
So would it be like an access card, or would there not be any gate around the area?
Well, there'll be a gate around the basketball court. I wasn't anticipating an access card to get into that court. We have been toying with, there'll be a fence around the pool, of course.
Right.
We've been toying with whether we should have an access card for that. The way I would like to set it up, and this is, happy to have a conversation about this with you all, is that there'll be a lifeguard at the pool at all times, and you'd have to check in with the lifeguard or something like that, or present some kind of ID. So we'd have to come up with that. The only downside to that part of the conversation is the more controls you put in there, the more cards and the more electronic swipes, the more dollars. And then, somebody lost their card, hey, that's my friend, come on in, he doesn't live here. So, but those are things that happen at every pool. You'll figure it out. It's not the first pool. You're not the first people to have a pool. And I'm sure the county can also provide guidance, as could the pool maintenance company provide guidance as to how to best protect the use of the pool. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. Anyone else that hasn't? I'm just going to go to a couple of folks that haven't asked a question before.
What kind of fence will actually be around the facility? Will it be a white fence? What kind of fence will it exactly be?
It's subject to change. I could tell you what fence was going to go up front. I can't tell you now, but I could have told you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
What fence is going to go up front?
Yeah,
Was it a
I
chain
don't-
link fence or?
do you know, Colin? What kind of fence were we going to put around the pool and the basketball court?
Around the basketball court, it's 10-foot chain link fence, black, I believe.
10-foot chain link black around the basketball.
And then around the pool was, if I recall, 6-foot, the aluminum
The al-
square tubing.
Yeah, around the pool would be the 6-foot aluminum metal fencing. It looks nice. It's a decorative fencing. We want it to look nice too for our selfish marketing reasons. Yeah.
Security. If you put it on Route 13, right there, are you going to have any kind of cameras watching and recording or anything like that? Is there going to be any kind of security? Because I know what kind of kid I was as a teenager. If I would have seen a nice basketball court on Route 13 driving by, I tell you, me and my friends would have frequented that place. We wouldn't have lived there. We didn't live in a lot of the places we played basketball or went. And I tell you, I would have seen that pool too. And after everything was said and done, and everybody was gone, I would have been over that fence.
Well,
What kind of kid I was? And I'm saying, I want to guard against kids that were like me.
So in addition to like vandalism on Route 13, because you're kind of throwing that out there, saying, hey, I'm kind of like looking like a Motel 6. What about even the trash flow? Because as you know, with the R ordinance and our property, things are not kept up right now. And the amount of trash flow that circulates in and around the community that flows right there, I know that's on 13 even, but it does come into our development. So I just kind of wonder what type of protocol or process you'll have for security measures to keep it clean, gated, et cetera, especially with up front.
Okay, I'm just going to take the first question first. Excuse me a moment. When we started hearing the concerns that you're expressing, what I thought I was going to do to help solve that is add security cameras to we put them on the Cabana building and make sure that the facility was, of course, gated, but with locks and pass keys and all that. I was getting more concerned about that myself, that we were going to have to create security protocols that we didn't have in place. So that would have been my thought. In my head, I envisioned you have a camera pointing at the pool, at the tot lot, at the basketball court, at the parking lot, and it's one of those situations where it just records, but nobody's authorized to look at it except somebody on the board of trustees in case there's a problem. Because nobody wants to be at the pool knowing that there's a camera watching you. But anyway, that's what we would have done to create that security protocol, or will do if it's up front. With respect to trash, I can't speak to your neighbors and whether they're going to leave trash at the pool. I'm sure everyone will use the waste bin, but there'll be a refuse company that'll be in charge of emptying the waste bin, because the facility, whether it's up front or out back, will be, again, managed by professional management.
How about the noise level?
Not you guys? Okay. Yeah, I can't control, well, I'm silly saying this, I can't control the highway trash. It doesn't look that bad, but maybe I don't drive by at the right time. Yes, sir.
If it gets relocated to this new space, what will happen to the land that's been cleared and all the prep work? How will that be cleaned up? Out front, because right now there's already been a lot of clearing and work. So
Seed and hay, we'll turn it back to grass. Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, if this is how we're going and you all make this decision in early May, it's probably a good time to plant grass anyway. So. And Colin's reminding me there's already additional landscaping that's approved out there anyway, irrespective of the location of the rec center.
Would that be considered open space then? Not per se, it could not be sold in the future to a Wawa.
I just want, we answered that fluently, but is that, it can't go to any other use? Okay, all right, it's a good question about the thinking.
We were told it was approved for a daycare center a year and a half ago.
Yeah, I think we're talking about another piece up front. Is that right, John?
The piece where the pool was supposed to go was converted to open space by the plan that placed the pool there. That can't change. There are additional lands. I don't know what I don't think they're approved for anything, quite frankly, but there are additional lands next to that open space parcel that are not part of the open space and are not part of the community. I guess that are further south on Route 13.
So that's a lot of pool in the Wawa or in the
I think it's not residential, but I'm not.
Bring in our Walgreens.
We can only follow what the zoning will allow us. And yes, there was chatter early on that would be a great spot next to the rec facility up front for a daycare center. Obviously, that never happened, and it may not even be zoned for that. All the way in the back, sir?
Yeah, what's the difference in the lot size between the pool being up front and the pool being in the back? Are they going to be more in together?
We haven't looked at it in terms of lot size. I will grant you that up front, it's a much bigger area of open space compared to the triangular property we see here.
Is there acreage amount?
Sure, I don't have that available for you. Sorry about that. We didn't calculate it based on acreage. Did I miss a question over here?
That's fine. Just a quick assumption, many basketball courts and summer pools have lighting. I'm assuming, based on this drawing, there's no lighting there, or is there?
No,
Just a quick question.
no lighting planned at all. Sir? Oh, there's street lights in the parking lot? Okay, I'm sorry, I'm corrected. Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
A year and a half ago, we were told if the pool was moved to the back here, that there would be, I forget the exact amount of lots, but it's around 39 lots would be added, and there are several undeveloped streets that would be changed. Is that still going to happen with this, or are we missing that?
No, that was a part of what Steve was talking about when he talked about that Horton had originally moved ahead on the application to get this approved in the back. Part of the reason why it stalled was we believed we needed an additional 30-something lots to offset some of the costs, a lot of the costs, and that wasn't going to happen. So no, there is no 30-something lots that was approved or is going to happen. That's why I spoke that this takes up 3 lots, so we're just gonna move 3 from there to some other place and not the additional lots. They're not in the game plan at all.
The original streets is still,
Yeah, we don't gain any pleasure in changing things. Change means time and money, and those are really important commodities. So we would like to stay the course with everything as much as possible. In the back, sir.
The contractors are building our homes, maybe building this clubhouse also.
I don't know. Is it the same guys building the club and the rec? Yeah, not necessarily. It's mostly just a place for 2 bathrooms. Sir?
Now, whether it's up front or in the back, originally, and you might have touched on it earlier, so I do apologize, but what we were informed or advised of earlier when most of us moved in was that the community would have a clubhouse. And now these renderings are of the cabana, and I was just wondering what is the difference? We couldn't get the approval based on the clubhouse, or there's not enough space, or?
No, you just heard the answer in a slightly different way. The answer was about dollars. When the idea a couple years ago was to put it towards the back with a much more elaborate clubhouse, to offset all those costs was the need for the additional 30-something lots. So we were going to just build it up front. It didn't get approved. The 30 lots didn't get approved, and the vote process didn't take place. So we have no interest in going back to that larger facility because there's no way to get all those offsetting lots to offset the cost. So the easy plan of attack, the direct plan of attack, is just take what's approved up front and relocate it in the back. So I don't like to call it a clubhouse. Like I said, it is more of a cabana building. It's a place to have bathrooms, a place for the lifeguard, to have some files, and a room. So that's what it will be at this point. Sir?
I just want to clarify something that you said earlier. If the pool goes in the front, as soon as it's completed, you turn that over to the community to pay for all the maintenance. Versus if you build it back here, you, D.R. Horton, will maintain all the funds that's needed to keep up with that until 75% of the development is sold.
Unfortunately, that's correct.
And how much, what percentage are we at right now in our development?
Well, there's 154 out of 409. Somebody.
So you're not even halfway there.
Correct. Yeah, I can do that math. All right, Councilman, I don't need to put you on the clock, but you're at 8 o'clock. So. All right, I'm gonna get you in trouble, and you're gonna blame it on me. Okay. Anything else? Sure. Yes, please.
Aside from there being verbal discussion and plans within the county, has anyone in this neighborhood signed a document, a legal document agreeing to the movement of it? Because you were saying earlier everyone signed, what did you call it?
Yes, some homeowner or group of homeowners organized an informal petition
That's
that.
the same as a legal contract with 1/7, right? The thing where it says the brand, you just held it up?
Oh, I'm mixing up apples and oranges. I'm sorry, say your question again?
That came along with our settlement papers.
Right.
So that was what we agreed to from the beginning.
Right.
Anything else as far as change of location and all that has just been verbally discussed or told to people coming in, but it's not been signed upon by any sides of informal petition?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Yes. There doesn't have to be other questions. I think we brought it. Go ahead, please.
I'm really new. We just closed about 3 weeks ago, so I'm just trying to get my bearings right now. So for Ashington Drive, is that, if this could be...
Back to one of the, let's move back to an overall slide to get some perspective. Okay, what was your...
Because currently Kingswood Path is a mess with construction as it is. So if this would be moved to next summer, hopefully being done, if that should come to fruition, would Ashington Drive be a way for us to maneuver to get to those back lots where we live? Because it's already hard enough to maneuver down Kingswood Path. So I'm just trying to...
Let me ask you a question to Colin. If we're building the rec center in the back, will that interfere with any of the roadway access, or is it going to be all off-road?
So everything should sit pretty much inland, like up on the dirt, not...
Yeah, I don't think it would involve interfering with the roads. Yeah.
Is that loose spot pretty much where that big dirt hill is right now in the development? Is that?
It's right next to the washout tub on the road.
It looks like...
You're
Right
looking
where
at the
you
wrong
turn
side of
into
the
the
dock.
path.
Where the concrete
It's right
washout
there.
is, it's right
Okay.
next to that.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
If the pool remains in the front and it's completed by midsummer, late summer, whatever, and it gets turned over then to us as a maintenance fee, HOA fee, what is the proposed budget since we're so close to that?
Okay. That's a good question. We talked about that earlier. Right now, your offering documents say that we collected $1,055 at closing, which is supposed to equal 2 years maintenance fee. But that fee was estimated back in '06. So we can all agree that anything anybody estimated in '06 is only one thing, and that's wrong. So there would have to be a new budget created. I'm not going to guess what, and Horton's not going to create that budget. That's going to be a management company that will do it. So I'm not going to guess for us what the new fee would be. But if it's current, if in '06 it was estimated to be $500 a year, there's inflation, everything costs.
Was that the
more.
clubhouse or this cabana
That
plant?
was this exact
But,
facility.
but if
Okay.
D.R. Horton was on the go and moving forward with this at the beginning of the development,
Right.
you mean to tell me they didn't seek out a management company already and have a proposed budget?
Absolutely, I just told you that. In '06, we
No,
had
no,
a
no, a
management company
new
into it.
proposed budget considering they started the construction a few months ago. They didn't turn and seek out a new management company with new pricing?
No, because we figured this isn't really going to be something that we had to deal with the fees on until we.
I think it's important to the homeowners.
And you may be right. We may have, we should have moved faster on getting the budget together. But since we're at this point of the conversation, let me promise to you that if you all vote to keep it where it is, we'll try to get a budget together in a matter of days. We'll work with the management company to do that. Sure.
So, when you say turn the fees over to us, but that's gonna include the whole neighborhood, all the grass cutting, everything, not just the pool. It'll be the entire neighborhood.
Phase one.
In phase one, right.
In phase
200.
one.
Right, but they have no budget yet.
I know.
So 400, 4 million a month, what, you know, it's just.
No,
one-
it will be definitely less than $4 million a month. We do have a budget, we just told you, but it's from '06. So I'm
Buy all the
not-
houses.
But you just said that budget is null and void since it's from '06 because
Oh,
of
it's
inflation.
absolutely not null and void. I'm just saying, as a matter of practical guesswork, anything that any of us drafted in '06 financially.
You really don't think
probably
that's
is-
an important fact for homeowners to know?
There's one additional part that's missing from this. When the open space gets turned over to the community, also turned over to the community will be whatever that startup fund is going to be. And I'm not going to try to calculate the math, but it's going to be somewhere in around the $200,000 range. If things proceed according to the current schedule, and if the pool remains in the front, it would likely be turned over to the community some point in the fall would be my guess. So you're not going to have a lot of maintenance charges initially while you're building up to your first annual meeting. But that's the other reason why the county requires this money to be placed in an escrow account at the beginning, because it's going to take the community time. It'll have its own board in place when we leave the turnover meeting. That's the way the county process works. The developers, representatives resign, the community elects its own board. It can start having meetings in terms of coming up with an assessment. But while it is doing that, it knows that it has this fund, rather large fund for this community, that will carry forward until such times as your own assessments have been established and you're collecting them. The other part, and just to make it clear, and I think it was answered into a question, the only thing that the community would be required to maintain, again, assuming the pool remains where it's located, the open space gets finished and turned over, is the open space within phase one. Everything that's in phase two is still a responsibility of Horton to maintain until that gets completed and to a point where it can then be turned over to the community. Thanks. Sure.
Is that include road maintenance? Does that include road maintenance?
No. No, yes.
Snow plowing is usually the only thing that maintenance corporations do, and DelDOT has a reimbursement program that once the streets are accepted by DelDOT, you can apply, put your community into their program. I think all the information is online, and they basically reimburse you a percentage for each snowfall, I think is over like 3 inches or something like that, or 4 inches, about 70 or 80% of what you spend to plow that snow. But they're ultimately streets that are going to be owned by Delmarva.
Thanks. It's about almost 8:15. If there's maybe 2 more questions, then we'll wrap it up. Sir?
The management company gave you a guesstimate of what we owe for our dues. Once it's handed over to us, are we able to get rid of them, put it out of bid?
Sure.
On and
You can self-manage. I don't recommend it. It's a ton of work. One of you all will volunteer, and you'll regret it on day 2. We see it all the time. But anyway, yes, absolutely, and that is a way to save money. Unfortunately, then you trade off time because you're dealing with it, and you don't get paid. Stinks. Unless anyone objects, I'm going to make this the last question. Go ahead, sir.
Well, a lot of concerns are about security up front, and I know you talked about a 6-foot fence, and these gentlemen that protect against people like himself when he was younger. Can we have a taller fence? Is that not possible? I mean, I know it doesn't really matter if someone really wants to get in your pool and fence, but does it have to be 6 foot? Is it taller than 6 foot?
Right.
Make it a little bit more challenging if it was front to get in there. In addition to whatever security measures.
Do you mean if it's in the front or the back?
If it's in the front.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we were talking about doing different things with the fence and if it's going to be up front to make it more secure.
And then there's commercial lots south of it that might possibly pop up, increasing, people going in and viewing it from the side.
Just as a follow-up to that, having a conversation while Mitch was answering the question, 6 foot is the maximum that the county permits. It would be possible to apply to the county for a variance for that. We'd have to go to the county's Board of Adjustment for that, but 6 foot is the code permitted maximum, absent getting some kind of relief.
So how are you doing 10 foot around the basketball courts?
Yeah, Colin. That's an exception. Yeah, sorry, you're off the hook, Colin. That's an exception. This is basketball. All right, we'll make this the last question. Go ahead, sir, please.
In the event that it stays up front, is there any type of insurance, let's suppose some kid gets in the pool and they drown, and it's our community's responsibility, what happens then?
Your management company would also, in your budget, have a line item for insurance, which is probably the most important line item in your budget. So yeah, there would definitely be an insurance line item. And that would be critically important no matter where it is.
I think something have to be higher risk, look at 13 than you have to be.
Don't know the answer to that, but it's possible. All right, I wanted to thank everyone for their polite and respectful attention tonight. I know the meeting went a little long, but thank you. You all did ask some really great questions, and appreciate your input. As we said, John has a pile of the ballots here. If you want to take them, you don't have to. We'll be mailing them. And I have these important warranty info letters in case you just are lost and don't know how to get in contact with us on a warranty matter. Anything else from anyone on the Cove front 2 rows? Good night, everyone. Drive safely.
Yeah, they're good. I love these guys.
Just the clubhouse alone.
Yeah, I love these
They
guys.
catch you when they have the cell pitch. They catch you in the clubhouse, with the gym, and with the pool.
Yeah.
So that is why I forgot to take a picture of that plan that they received.
Yeah, they gotta read all your shit.